insights, picks, results. This is Wizard Sports Picks. Beyond the Lines.
Welcome to another edition of Beyond the Lines, presented by Wizard Sports Picks. Thursday, November 27th, Ian Cameron with you, and a happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the United States. We hope you have a great Thanksgiving holiday with family, friends, relatives, and how about a little football as well on Thanksgiving, because we're going to deliver some football for you on this edition of Beyond the Lines, this Thanksgiving edition of Beyond the Lines. That's right. I'm going to give you a pick, and in some cases, picks for each game on the Thursday NFL slate for Thanksgiving. So that's coming up. But first, as always, I want to remind all of you to check out wizardsportspicks.com, and it's a terrific roster of handicappers on the website, top to bottom. We've got premium picks every day in all major sports right now, and there's a lot going on for the rest of the Thanksgiving holiday weekend into December. NFL, college football, NHL, NBA, college basketball. It's all going on right now. So make sure you get on board any one of the great handicappers with premium picks over at the website. Check it out, wizardsportspicks.com. All right, we're going to talk about all three Thanksgiving games, and we will begin with the first game on tap, Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. Detroit right now a 2.5 to 3 point home favorite in this game. The total sitting at 48 as the consensus number pretty much across the board here for this game. The Detroit Lions have obviously not looked great the last 2 weeks. They had the loss to Philadelphia on Sunday Night Football a couple weeks ago, where the offense just was totally shut down by the Philadelphia defense. And obviously last week it was a struggle for the Detroit Lions against a lowly New York Giants team, needing overtime to get past the New York Giants last week. But when you look at this number, I think a part of the fact that Detroit is laying just 2.5, 3 offers value with Detroit in this spot. Yes, they haven't looked great the last 2 weeks, and yes, they've been battling some injuries as well, especially on the defensive side of the football. But this is a revenge spot inside the division for the Detroit Lions. After in week 1, if you'll remember, the Green Bay Packers just really dominated Detroit start to finish in a 27-13 win in that game. And I think when you look at it, Detroit now looking for a little bit of redemption. The injuries on defense do concern me, and Jordan Love and the Packers offense certainly have the weapons to take advantage of that. But the Green Bay offense continues to be underwhelming at times. You know, we'll see how they fare here on the road. That's going to be a big question. The Green Bay defense has been very good. There's no denying that whatsoever. But they faced an Eagles offense, which has been a little bit out of sorts of late recently. They also took advantage last week in their victory of a Minnesota Vikings team that is just a mess on offense right now, in particular J.J. McCarthy, who just hasn't looked great, since returning from injury. So, the Green Bay defense is good, but anytime you're facing this Lions offense and Jared Goff in the cozy, friendly confines of Ford Field, where for years under Dan Campbell, this is where the Lions offense has been at their best, I still think there's a chance the Packers have their hands full. What's very interesting, Green Bay's been an under machine at home this year. They're on a 6-0 run to the under in home games at Lambeau Field. The over, though, is cashed in 4 of the last 5 Green Bay road games, and those games are averaging north of 50 points per game. And in this series between the Packers and Lions, we've seen low-scoring games at Lambeau, and we've seen shootouts here at Ford Field in Detroit, as the last 2 meetings in Detroit have had an average of 58 points per game. We've seen a lot more high-scoring games here between the Packers and Lions at Ford Field. And I think we have a chance to see that once again here in this game. And I also think Detroit, at less than a field goal, the value is on their side. So I will give you a side and a total here. Detroit minus 2.5, minus 110, as well as the over in this game, over 48. Between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. All right, let's go to the second game for Thanksgiving NFL action. Kansas City Chiefs, Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be a ratings bonanza, this game. I mean, there's already people projecting this to be maybe the highest rated, most watched Thanksgiving game involving the Dallas Cowboys in history. So it should be interesting to see what the viewership is like for this game. The Chiefs and the Cowboys. Of course, the Chiefs have been a perennial Super Bowl contender, multiple Super Bowl champion in recent years. Dallas, of course, is Dallas. So they're always going to get people watching their games. And that should be the case here between these two teams on Thursday for the CBS audience. We've got Kansas City 3-point road favorites. The total here, 52 across the board in this one. Let me start with the side, because my official pick on this game is going to be the total. But for the side, it's very tricky. I think I would lean Kansas City at -3 or better. I still think they're the overall little bit better team. I think their offense is better than they've shown in recent weeks, and I think this could be the week they show it. We know Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense just hasn't been great the last couple of weeks. We saw what happened against Denver. Offense really couldn't get on track. They stumbled in Denver territory over and over again. And when you look at that game against Indianapolis, even though they won Kansas City in overtime, the offense, again, bogged down in the red zone too much. Yeah, they outgained the Colts by a significant margin, 33-10 in first downs for Kansas City in that game against Indy. But what was the problem? Why was that game so close? Why did Kansas City not put up points with all the yardage they put up? Because of the red zone inefficiency. 1 for 6 in the red zone for the Chiefs. Multiple turnovers, keeping points off the board. Again, these are correctable mistakes for a quarterback that we know has been the best in the NFL all these years. We expect him to correct these kind of mistakes, and I would think they can do that here against Dallas. If they correct the mistakes, work on better red zone execution, I think they'll have a better chance for success. The Dallas Cowboys offense, meanwhile, Dak Prescott was outstanding, leading the charge and the comeback against the Philadelphia Eagles last week, threw for over 350 passing yards. George Pickens was a monster. And to think that Dallas had that big comeback and move the ball on offense, had a pretty good day against a Philly defense that had been playing pretty well, and did it despite the fact CeeDee Lamb was a nightmare in that game, dropping passes left and right, which has become more and more of a problem for him in recent weeks. You give certainly Dak Prescott a lot of credit for the way he played in that game, no question. This is going to be interesting because you got Kansas City off a season-saving win against Indy. Is there a letdown for them? Dallas off one of the biggest comebacks they've had in franchise history against a division rival and the defending Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. Is there a potential letdown for them? So that's what makes the side tricky. But 3 or better, I lean slightly with Kansas City, but my official pick is going to be the total in this game. And I'm going to recommend the over once again here for a couple of reasons. The Dallas offense is pretty good right now. And Dak Prescott and the Dallas offense have been the strength of the team. There's no doubt the defense is better now than it was 2 weeks ago. Quinnen Williams has certainly made it better. And they have certainly looked the last couple weeks against Las Vegas and Philadelphia that they are a better defense. But let's look at those two offenses they faced. Las Vegas is a mess offensively. I called them out for having the worst offensive line I've seen in recent memory on Beyond the Lines last Sunday when I cashed a ticket with Cleveland outright against them. And I was right on the money with that. It's terrible offensive line. I'm not giving Dallas too much credit for shutting down the Raiders' offense. Yeah, they played well against Philly last week, but Philadelphia's had they've been out of sorts on offense for a while. I think this is going to be the true test. I think Kansas City will be a test for this Dallas defense. And like I said, Kansas City moved the ball up and down against Indy last week. If they execute better in the red zone, stop turning the ball over, Kansas City should be able to have success here against this Dallas defense. And on the flip side, we respect Spagnuolo and the Kansas City defense, but Indianapolis was able to move the football at times against the Chiefs. Bo Nix, when he had to put a drive together to win the game, he was able to. And Bo Nix, we know, has had an uneven season. So it's not been at times the same great, dominant Chiefs defense. And I think Dallas can move the ball. And the clincher for me is the trend of overs for these Dallas home games on Thanksgiving. 11-4 to the over in the last 15 games for the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving. They have been certainly a very heavy trending team to the over on Thanksgiving. So for the Chiefs Cowboys, I will go with over 52 between Kansas City and Dallas. All right, the third game and final game for Thanksgiving NFL slate on Thursday night. The Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Baltimore Ravens. We have Baltimore 7.5 point home favorites, 51.5 the total here in this game. Worth noting, this line was in the 10.5 range at first. It's come all the way down to 7.5, and it's twofold. And it's really all around both quarterbacks in this game as for the line movement and the money to Cincinnati. Number one is Joe Burrow's back. He's going to return after a multi-week absence and certainly bolsters the Bengals' offense, no doubt. The other thing is Lamar Jackson hasn't practiced every day this week, and there's concerns that hamstring injury is still lingering for him. And with the way he's played from returning from that initial hamstring injury, there's reason to be concerned. He hasn't looked like the same Lamar Jackson. He's struggled with his completion percentage, hasn't been running as effectively with the football since returning. Certainly a lot of concerns about Lamar Jackson and how that injury has impacted his performance at the quarterback position for Baltimore. That being said, you look at where this number is right now, and I can't help but think maybe it's moved just a little bit too far. Let's not forget, while we're all excited about Joe Burrow coming back, and that's certainly great news for the Bengals offense, he can't play defense for this team. And this remains an absolutely bottom tier, absolute bottom feeder defense in the National Football League. They are abysmal on that side of the football. You can argue that some of their worst defensive performances this year have come on the road, where the Cincinnati Bengals have given up 48 points to Minnesota, a Minnesota offense that has looked out of whack most of the year. 28 points to Denver. Their offense hasn't always looked great. Green Bay, 17 points on the road. 34 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Getting my sports mixed up. Pittsburgh Steelers 2 weeks ago, giving up 34 points in that game. And by the way, another thing for the Bengals is haven't exactly been cashing tickets for their backers on the road either. Just 1-4 against the spread for the Cincinnati Bengals on the road this season. So again, early money this week, moving it towards Cincinnati from 10.5 down to 7. All the reaction to Burrow returning. Well, Burrow can't play defense, and this is still a very bad defense, and this is a defense that the Baltimore Ravens could certainly exploit. And they have been able to exploit it because Baltimore has scored 27, 34, 41, and 35 points in the last 4 head-to-head meetings against their division rival, the Cincinnati Bengals. So minimum 27 points in all 4 meetings, the last 4 meetings. So Baltimore has had no issues moving the football. Another thing that's concerning me is while we're all excited about, or at least people betting Cincinnati and Bengals fans are excited about Joe Burrow returning, he has had a propensity over the years when whether it's week 1 of the season, whether it's coming off an injury in training camp, whether it's just returning from an absence of any kind, it has often been a struggle for Joe Burrow in the first game back. He has not looked sharp. He has not looked great when he's been off for a long period of time. It has taken him a couple of games to get to his top form. And that's another thing that would concern me about Cincinnati here on the road, against a Baltimore defense that is certainly playing now a lot better than they did early in the season. Health's a big part of it. You look at early in the season, they're giving up 38 points to Detroit, 37 to Kansas City, 44 to Houston. They were a mash unit on defense. They had significant cluster injuries on all 3 levels of that Ravens defense. And now you look at them during this 5-game win streak. And yeah, while there's been some turbulence with the offense during this 5-game win streak, this defense is playing as well as it has all year. They have allowed fewer than 20 points in every game during this 5-game win streak. Now, I will say the caliber of offenses have not been great. Chicago's probably the best one, but Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland, the Jets. But there's no doubt this defense is still in a much better place than it was. And we have a history and a track record of Joe Burrow struggling the first game when he's been out for a while. And I worry about that being the case for him once again here on Thursday night against this Baltimore team. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take advantage of the deflated number, and I'm going to go with a pick that I'm going to recommend splitting between 2 different bets here involving Baltimore. One of them is Baltimore laying the 7. So that's Baltimore -7, which is -110 to -115 at most books right now. And the other is Baltimore team total over 30.5. which you can get around even money, minus 110, minus 115 now at most spots currently with the team total. Split it between the two, because I think there's a good chance Baltimore can win this by at least a touchdown, if not more. And I think Baltimore's got a really good chance to hit the 31-point mark, because most teams get to 31 points against this Cincinnati defense. Because you look at Cincinnati this year, they have given up 31 points or more the majority of their games. And I think this Ravens team certainly has the potential to get to that number here on Thursday night against, as I mentioned, a Cincinnati defense that this year against the run, they're bad, period. They're bad against the pass. They're bad against the run. But against the run, they are 29th, 5.1 yards per carry allowed, and 156 rushing yards per game allowed, 31st in the NFL. So this should be a game where the run game, Derrick Henry gets going. It wouldn't shock me if Lamar is more effective running the football from the quarterback position in this game. And I think we'll take advantage of the early week move to Cincy. And I think now the value has shifted toward the home favorite. Baltimore -7, Baltimore team total over 30.5. There you have it. My look at the Thanksgiving NFL slate for Thursday. I'm Ian Cameron. Make sure you get to wizardsportspicks.com and check out some premium picks throughout the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the United States. Enjoy the games and good luck. I'm Ian Cameron, and this has been your Thursday, November 27th, U.S. Thanksgiving edition of Beyond the Lines, presented by Wizard Sports Picks.